Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Immergence Show. We're sitting down this week with Travis Cloyd, the immersive media pioneer, bringing legends like Einstein, Amelia Earhart, and Maya Angelou back into public through synthetic media. Travis isn't just building the future of immersive tech, he's rewriting what it means to be remembered. As the CEO of Worldwide XR, president of VueXR, and CTO of CMG Worldwide, he's leading the charge on a new frontier, resurrecting historical icons with AI, managing the ethical boundaries of posthumous fame, empowering educators and creators to build immersive content without writing code. In this episode, we dig into what synthetic fame means for the future of identity, who owns your likeness in the age of AI, how XR is transforming education, storytelling, and legacy, and why doing it ethically is more urgent than ever. If you care about this future of media, IP, or what we leave behind, this one is essential for you. Please tag your friends in the chat. If you're live with us, comment, ask your questions, and we'll get to them soon. All right, let's get into it. Thank you for being with us, Travis. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Nico. Thanks for having me, and good to connect, and hope this is beneficial for all the listeners that are here with us today, but it's good to be here. Thank you.
I appreciate you. Yes, we connected over another talk, and you were amazing. I wanted to continue our conversation and share it with the community. So why don't you share a little bit about all this multi-dimensional work that you do, and kind of how your professional journey brought you to this stage?
Great. Yeah. Well, you did a great job with the intro and kind of nailed a few of the projects and companies that I work with and work for. And to kind of go back into that, I'm the CTO and VP of a company called CMG Worldwide, which is Celebrity Management Group, which is an incredible agency led by the founder, Mark Rosler, for the last 47 plus years.
Wow.
He founded that company 47 years ago, representing historical iconic estates such as Elvis and Marilyn Monroe, James Dean, and many others. Essentially started the entire industry of representing deceased personalities. And Mark and I got to know each other 15 years ago on a big project, and partnered, I don't know, maybe 7 or 8 years ago on a company. He's been running CMG. I've been working with him and the great team at CMG on a lot of different licensing programs for a number of historical iconic personalities in entertainment, film, sports, music. We do represent the likeness and agency management of great iconic figures such as Albert Einstein, as you mentioned, and Maya Angelou and James Dean and so many others, Malcolm X and Amelia Earhart and so many other great historical iconic estates. We also have a sister company called Worldwide XR, which I'm the CEO of, and think of it more of our proactive arm. So from an agency representative perspective, we're handling a lot of licensing programs. The phones are ringing. We're looking at what are those programs, how it makes sense for the clients that we represent. But sometimes we want to get into the trenches and we want to create and we want to play with the tools that we have at our fingertips today. And we do that through our production house called Worldwide XR. We also have a platform for 3D content creators built on Unity on iOS and Android called VueXR, VueXR. You can go to VueXR.com to learn more about it, or you can go to the Unity storefront, or you can go to iOS or Android to download the application. And it's really a tool for 3D content creators who are playing in the XR field and creating AR, VR, MR experiences that want to be able to publish it on a platform where you can display it in real space and interact with it. So we're not just representing historical iconic estates and handling their management and licensing and proactively protecting their best interests, but we're also creating content with the rights holders based on the stories that they want to bring to the table, leveraging these incredible tools that we have at our fingertips. Like I said today, it's kind of like, making a movie or writing a book or doing a commercial. We have all these incredible solutions, augmented reality experiences, virtual reality experiences, the use of AI for other types of content. So we're given these tools and mediums today for us to storytell. And in doing that, we do things the right way, we believe. We do things with the estates and with the families. And then on the side as well, I'm an educator, and I work with two institutions, Florida International University, which I'm sporting the merch right now, FIU in Miami. I'm a professor there. I also am the director of the DREAMS program, the Digital Research, Entertainment, and Arts Media Sciences program. And then I'm also running the same program at Cal Arts in Los Angeles, which was a school founded by Walt Disney about 52 years ago. And I'm also running the DREAMS program, but the difference with that program is the S is for storytelling, because that school is so incredible at storytelling and character animation and film. And FIU is so amazing at so many other things: architecture, communications, broadcasting, journalism. And so our programs at both the institutions allow for us to test these kind of things in real time and work with students on all the innovation that we have at our fingertips. So yeah, it's a lot of things I'm doing.
Wow, really genius work that you're doing, and really fascinating how you can handle all of this to the best possible way. So if you can please tell us where kind of your personal motivations came from doing all of this, especially on the ethics side, legacy side. How do you define it? What influenced your work and decisions?
Sure. Yeah, I think it goes back to maybe 20 or so years ago plus. I was really developing a digital advertising agency and working with a lot of great brands and companies to storytell. This is that the days of really social media was a big thing, and doing things on different channels like that was what was relevant. Yeah. Times have changed. I started to make films back then as well. I was really behind the camera, looking at things from a production perspective. Little by little over the course of time, we've had different innovations, and augmented reality and virtual reality was something that I got into in maybe 2009, 2010, because I was working on some big animation features, and we were in studio developing 3D assets, and I found it crazy that we were building such incredible 3D assets that were basically only being utilized on a flat 2D screen, and wanted to think of some alternative ways to leverage those assets in different forms. And so we did some pretty unique AR, VR experiences at that time, and that kind of led to my journey in this space and playing with these new technologies and solutions. Little by little, I'd make movies with talent, and sometimes people would forget the stories, but they would remember the talent. And I think everybody, as an audience perspective, sometimes wants to watch content because of the stars and the individuals that are in the films. Obviously, story is a factor that we all care about, but the business is you have to have big talent that can move the needle for distribution. And sometimes those smaller film projects that have great stories, they don't have talent, they don't see the light of day. Yeah. Sometimes the projects that we see in theaters or on streaming platforms are there because of talent and because of big names that are attached to those films. And so I recognized a long time ago that intellectual property rights were important, and having big IP, a part of the projects that you're creating, makes sense for driving adoption and audiences. And my focus was on, bringing talent and IP, whether it was brands or celebrities or whomever it may be, to the table that made the project more appealing for investors, for distributors, for audiences. So that kind of got me into filmmaking and storytelling and using different experiences and then tying it back to big IP. Obviously, I mentioned I had the great privilege and opportunity of meeting Mark Rosler from CMG, like I said, 15 or so years ago. He is the king of intellectual property rights when it comes to historical iconic estates. And so I said long ago, if I'm going to pursue this, I want to pursue this with the best in the game. I want to pursue this with the person who's led this industry, somebody who's an attorney who works at the highest level to make sure things are done the right way, who protects the best interest of the estates and the families that he represents. And for me, if I'm going to storytell and create content, I want to do it with those people. I don't believe that I'm the right shepherd for certain stories, and I believe that the families and the estates and those that protect the best interest of those brands and those icons and those legends of the past should be at the dinner table, should be sitting there with us when we collaborate and come up with those projects. And that was the reason why we teamed up, was to come up with business models that made sense with families, with estates, with the right stakeholders at the table.
Love it. Wow. Thank you for this comprehensive answer. And I think now that's very clear why the fame is important, why the IP is important, and like how that relates to storytelling. Thank you for all of that. I want to take a moment and thank our live audience. Thank you for being here with us. Yes, please comment. Let us know you're here. Ask questions. Hi, Chris, Jean, and everyone else who's tuning in. We actually have a question. Have you ever worked with the Screen Actors Guild?
Yeah, with SAG. Yeah, I've had great conversations with them over the course of time, and definitely the general counsel in particular, and really support what they're doing, and big believer in everything that they do as a union and as a guild. And so, yeah, I have to some extent. I obviously would like to do more things, but obviously keep everything that they do in mind, their policy, how they protect the best interests of actors and talent in the pursuit of everything that we do, of course.
Amazing. Thank you. Thank you for the question as well. Yeah, so let's dive into what it takes to actually make this happen. The process of digitally recreating someone that is deceased, and like James Dean, what's technically and legally involved. And I love that you kind of have this great partner who comes from the legal side, and you're great at the technical and business side. So tell us a little bit more behind the scene, what it takes to do this.
Yeah, two separate questions. One is the legal side of things and making sure you have the right stakeholders and estates that are attached to the project. And the other side is the actual production and the content. When it comes to the first answer, it's really, for us and with James Dean, I'll just use that as an example, work directly with the family and the estate. Marcus Winslow is the actual individual who's the cousin of James Dean, who represents the intellectual property rights for James Dean. So in that particular project, it's working with him and the family, and obviously with the CMG team and many others that are James Dean experts in that pursuit. Obviously, you have to think of what is the objective that you have. Is it a film? Is it an experience? Is it a book? Is it a doc? What's the use of the license? And we do everything with the James Dean family and estate, from commercial projects to proactive experiential and linear projects that we're focused on. If you think about a linear project, because that seems to be what has been talked about mostly in the media, that's working with other filmmakers and studios that have their ideas of what James Dean should be like inside of a particular film. Obviously, there's a shot list involved. There's different scenes that are involved. There's different dialogue. There's different descriptions of how that name, image, and likeness is used in that project. So that has to be cleared. Number one, with the legal team, making sure that it abides by the policy that the family and the estate has on stories that use their family's likeness, in this case, James Dean. And then there's also just making sure that most of the projects that we have, that those individuals are a part of the process. We would then put together contracts, whether it's a shopping agreement or a licensing agreement that utilizes that individual's likeness for whatever the relevance is of that campaign. And obviously, there's lots of different ways of doing that. And if it's approved project, then we move forward. And then to get into the second part of your question, which is the actual content creation, again, it also kind of goes back to what is the use case? Is it a film? Is it an experience? What are the platforms? What are the mediums for where it's going to be distributed? What are the audiences looking for? And then you figure out what kind of technology that you want. Somebody like James Dean, you wouldn't necessarily recognize his voice. So you don't have to do voice synthesis. You can bring in an actor who's a voice double. But there's a lot of estates and iconic historical figures whose voices are very recognizable. We just did a great project with Dr. Maya Angelou's estate. We worked directly with the family, with Birdcage Legacy. And we felt it was in the best interest of the estate. And it wasn't even my perspective. It was the estate's perspective to recreate her voice. And in that particular program, we spent a lot of time, energy, and effort aggregating all of the voice assets, running it through, our algorithms, running it through different partners' solutions. We worked with a company called 11 Labs on that particular project to recreate her voice. But then we also had a kind of an immersive experiential digital museum in the form of AR, where you could take out your phone anywhere in the world and you can display a portal or a hologram into a digital museum that represents Dr. Maya Angelou. And she's narrating it for you, her voice, her perspectives, as you walk through the museum, listening to her poetry and her assets. in her stories. And we felt like it was better coming from her voice and her perspective and not from a third-party perspective. But again, somebody like James Dean, you don't have to go through voice synthesis. You could bring in an actor to achieve that. But when it comes to the face, again, every single historical iconic estate is unique and different based on the relevance of the face. James Dean, the objective is to create his exact replica of the face. That requires a few different fundamentals. Obviously, it's not a one-trick pony AI solution that we can flip the switch and it works. It does require lots of people. It does require a lot of production. It requires a lot of individual stakeholders that are experts in a number of things. We bring in different performers to perform that of the particular talent. Could be a body double, could be a face double to some extent, could be just a performance double, and we're doing, AI face simulation and overlays on top of the face. In some cases, we're leveraging MetaHuman and developing different kind of custom blend shapes on top of MetaHuman for different digital human faces. If we're doing a big program right now, which I can't talk about, on a very famous historical musician, and that requires a dance double, a singing double, a body double. I think we have 4 different humans that we've brought in for different types of capture, from motion capture to photogrammetry to just tracking the way the mannerisms are on the face with the way you talk, the way you speak, the way you smile, all the different, things that you think about when you have a conversation with somebody, and then bringing that into an actual performance. There's so many different things to kind of get into. Is it a performance in 3D? Is it a flat traditional passive performance? Do you need to create worlds? Do you need to create environments? Do you need to create outfits and cloth simulation, hair simulation? So there's a lot of different people that we have that work on a project. I mean, for example, this music project, I have 140 people that are part of that project right now. So we have a lot of people that work in a lot of different incredible areas that collectively come together to produce the project based on the objective and the platform and the distribution and how it's going to be monetized and how audiences are going to engage with it. So a lot of different ways to go about it these days. It's not just a flat, couple camera shot with people acting in front of you. There's a lot of different fundamentals that go into developing, spatial experiences and different types of, platforms. And it's the Wild West right now.
Yes, and I would love to get into that. But yeah, everything you described just shows your focus on quality of the outcome is really clear, and the fact that you're kind of using all of your production experience to run something so comprehensive, really fascinating stuff. And so I would imagine now that generative AI is kind of booming, things might have gotten more realistic. But even before that, you were doing all of that. Can you tell us a little bit about how you feel about this AI boom or generative AI boom? Of course, it has the positive side for your work, but also maybe some other challenges.
Yeah, I mean, I love it. I think I'm kind of a half glass full kind of person, and I look at AI as a lot of different tools to utilize based on the program that you're creating. I kind of think of it like paint, and each of these AI solutions is like its own color of paint. And of course, you can paint a painting with all blue, but that's not enough. And we obviously want to have all the different colors to create kind of what we envision on a flat rectangular canvas. And I think all these AI solutions are kind of like that. These are tools for us to leverage and create, again, based on what we're trying to produce and bring to life. I don't think it's at the position where it's like I said, a one-trick pony or a flip the switch and it's ready to go. Obviously, when you want to prompt a face, these are great solutions and tools when you're trying to showcase some creative content on social media. And it's great ammunition for really cool social posts, but it's not in position from my perspective for full performance. And it's really challenging to leverage AI to do the things that we do with real humans and real physical production. I think of it like any other incredible medium or mega trend that's come our way, whether it's social media or the internet or XR. AI is bigger, I think, maybe not as big as the internet, but it's pretty darn big. And it's obviously a very big newsworthy phenomenon in this moment in time, because it's allowing everybody to utilize these solutions to create the content that they envision. And I think that's a wonderful thing. And it's led by some of the biggest companies in the world spending billions of dollars evolving these solutions. And so I don't think it's going to go anywhere. It's going to continue to evolve. And so I love that. I think that's a beautiful moment in time for all of us to leverage it. But at the same time, I think we don't think about what happens next. You know, how do you distribute? How do you monetize it? If everybody's given the same tools, what's going to make stories stand out? And I think we're numb to all the different AI prompt assets that are already out being distributed across all the social channels. And I think little by little, we'll start to look at how do we utilize all of these solutions. I mean, from an institutional perspective, we've put together databases. I think we have a database right now of like 700 AI solutions that are broken down into an Excel sheet that tells you exactly what's the use case and different use cases that we've applied and our own internal perspectives of those tools. And so, you know, we go to that when we have a project, because again, every project is different. Sometimes we don't do anything. Sometimes we don't use AI. Sometimes we work with estates that don't want to leverage these technologies. Sometimes they're a little cautious. Sometimes they're bullish. Sometimes they're excited and they want to partake in new innovation and new tech. And they want their legacies and their families to be out there in the limelight, to be, you know, utilized in education, to be utilized in storytelling. And so they have to adapt. Some requires more conversations like this, more education, more time to get them to understand it. Others reach out to us with so much excitement and desire and appetite to just figure it out. What can we do? So, like I said, it's the Wild West, and everybody is hearing about AI. So everybody wants to learn more or partake in any way.
Yeah, such a good point. The barrier to entry is very low. So yeah, that could be good or bad. Thank you for sharing all of that. And what are your thoughts about digital identity, or, you know, like this digital twin concept, you know, from the perspective of general, you know, normal people, everyday people, or creators or brands? Like, you've worked with brands and creators. So like, what are your thoughts about, you know, how we should go about these?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of reminds me, you know, kind of go back to social media. Just I remember a time in the early 2000s where you'd bring up, you know, Facebook campaigns or, you know, Twitter campaigns or different, you know, use of social media to shine a light on your brand objective or your, you know, your purpose of your marketing effort. And a lot of people were like, I don't know if I should use Facebook, and I don't think it's something that's worthwhile. And fast forward, they all have social media managers that are internal, that are getting paid full-time salaries to micromanage their social media storytelling across all channels and platforms. I think digital identity and your personal avatar is really how you're going to navigate these channels in the future. I'm a big believer that we'll have lots of digital twins individually, all of us. I'm already seeing it with big celebrity talent. They may have different avatars, different digital personas, some that can be licensed and used for film, some that could be brought into game engines, some that can be utilized in other more metaverse or Web3 type of ecosystems. But I truly believe that in the future, we may have 9 or 10 different, you know, digital avatars or digital personas, the same way we have 9 or 10 different login accounts to our social media channels. You know, we go to X or Twitter for a reason. We go to Instagram for a reason. We go to Snapchat or TikTok for a reason, or every social channel for whatever the intent is. And it's the same thing for the use of our digital avatar as we navigate the future worlds, physical and digital.
That's such a good point. And we did see Meta, for example, experimenting with bringing celebrities and trying to tap into those type of fame to get more traction on using AI. And yeah, there are different use cases that companies have tried to use this for. And we do have a question from Felipe. Could synthetic influencers eventually replace celebrities in branding and advertising?
Yeah, great question. I think there's no true answer to that. I think it's kind of a combination. I do believe you need living personalities to be able to perform certain services, obviously. But a digital asset or a digital human, for example, can speak multiple languages at any given moment in time. And from a content creation perspective, if you're given the tools to be able to manipulate the face for whatever your commercial or project plan is, whatever your shot list is, whatever you're trying to achieve, then you have the ability to do that. And an actor may have the ability to license off their digital persona for a piece of media, or they could show up, depends on the project, depends on the story, depends on the genre. Is it sci-fi? Is it animated? Is it pixelated? There's a lot of different things that may need just your digital replica. But then there's a lot of stories that needs the real physical human. One of the projects I'm working on right now is kind of similar to that. I'm working on a project with the Clark Gable estate, working directly with Clark Gable's family and the son, John Gable, working with the famous actor Billy Zane as well to kind of bring a story together on Clark Gable. In that case, we want to hire, in the process already of doing that, bringing on a digital double who resembles Clark Gable's body and movements and how he performed in real life. But then we're leveraging AI and digital human technology to simulate the actual Clark Gable face. But then that Clark Gable would perform with real actors, and those real actors would participate with the performance double that obviously would have their face simulated in post. So there's a lot of ways of doing it. And I think every project is going to either require the real human or the digital human, or the digital human with different voice, or the digital human built in a different type of pixelated, technology that's going to be used for a different platform that a real human can't participate in like that.
Very good.
Hope that answers that question.
Thank you. Yes, definitely. And we have another question. I can't see who posted it. Sorry about, I don't know. It just shows LinkedIn user. But are you for personally owned digital twins that is a distributed digital agent, all linked by identifier to owners? They would even solicit work independently. What are your thoughts on that?
I need to think about that one. I am for personally owned digital twins, 100%. I do believe that the owner of the digital asset should be whomever is the estate holder or the individual whose name, image, and likeness is being used. I don't believe those assets should be owned by third parties. That's how I feel. When I create digital human IP, it's owned by the families and the estates. I'm just a developer, making sure it's done right with the right teams. Again, based on the objective of the program, but I don't own it. I make sure that all of our legal contracts go back to the estate holders because that's the way it should be. So I'm a big believer that you should personally own your digital twins.
Yes.
If you're leasing them or licensing them off to a third party, I don't like that model because every time you want to use it, you may be trapped. You may have to spend money to manipulate it. And I believe that the asset should be owned by you.
Good point. Thank you. Awesome. So another question from Felipe, which will be a good segue to our next section. As immersive tools become more accessible, how can we ensure creators use them responsibly? And if you can just explain a little bit more about how you're using the immersive tools for the work you're doing in a responsible way.
Great question. Again, I think from my perspective, it goes back to the objective of the estate holder that we have or the family that we're working with. What are they trying to achieve? What are they comfortable with? How far can we go? I think from a perspective of the tool creator or the content platform, I think a lot of it is about culture internally. I think, again, it's the Wild West and we don't have laws and governance in place that has created a foundation for all of the industry. I think it needs to be treated more throughout the culture within the company. I think there needs to be transparency to the governance that they have in play. The leadership has to have that transparency to the general public to make it comfortable for creators to utilize it or for content to live on that channel. We've had a lot of platforms that we've seen and a lot of rogue content creators that build IP based on personalities and individuals that we represent, and we have to send a lot of cease and desist letters. We have to spend time reaching out to platforms to make sure those assets are removed. Sometimes we'd love it if the platform itself, like I said, kind of had different culture, different policy in place to make sure that they have the right consent, that they have the right sign off from the legal teams or the rights holders or the estates that the content is living on their platform.
Very good point. Yes. Awesome. So let's talk about the behind all of this, the inside the studio. If you can tell us a little bit more about, some challenging or controversial projects you worked on. Kind of what are some of the challenges of the work that you're doing?
Yeah, I'm not sure, controversial. There's been obviously a lot of controversial stuff when it comes to the deceased personalities being used for new movies or new stories. And, a lot of the controversy is, is it replacing that one individual person? Is it taking away jobs? The answer is no from my perspective. I mean, maybe down the road, AI is going to get to a point where it does replace real physical performance, but it's just not there for me right now. As somebody who's in the trenches using them daily, we're still using a lot of individual people. So when we do remove one human from performance, dozens of jobs are created in that process. Everything from simulating shoes to, like I said, outfits, to the cloth, to the way the light shines onto a human, to the way it shines inside of a mouth, to the performance. There's just so many different people that we have bringing these projects to life. As far as challenges, I think challenges for me are really distribution. I look at film, for example, like cinema as a medium. I mean, that's been evolving for 100+ years. We've gone from no sound to sound, no color to color, one camera shot to multiple camera shots, no VFX to big VFX. Now you could make a big movie with a cell phone, or you could have $100 million. But we're still telling stories on a flat rectangular screen because that's evolved for a long time. When it comes to these new mediums like VR and AR and mixed reality and all this kind of stuff, there's really no true distribution pathway. It's, again, the Wild West. You have to do things on Roblox different than the way you do things on Quest, or different than the way you do things on Apple Vision Pro, different than the way you do things in AR. Stories are not, it's not a 120-page script. It's not an hour-and-a-half linear feature. Stories can be 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, could be interactive, could be, choose your own adventure. There's so many different ways of bringing stories to life today. There's like many challenges when it comes to distribution. So when you make a movie, you can put it on a DCP and you can ship it to all your theatrical distributors. You can send it to your streamers, and it's a one piece of media, one size fits all that goes off to the network of distributors. But when you make an experience, you have to custom make experiences per platform because of the development specs or requirements from each of those platforms. And so it's a challenge because it requires more energy and effort, more people that are specialists on those verticals to come into your stories have to be adjusted based on the medium, because every different platform or channel or hardware device or whatever it may be has a different way of users or audiences engaging. So that's been the challenge, I think, from my perspective, is when you make these experiences, you have to think of different types of places that they could be seen, which require different types of budgets to publish content on those channels. You have to compress assets to certain sizes based on those development requirements. It's crazy. It's not as easy as a one-size-fits-all model that I could ship to, like I said, if it's a movie, I could ship it off to everybody. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah, and especially if you want to really maximize the use of capabilities of these new tools. So if you're like trying Apple Vision Pro and you really want to use all their latest and greatest features, you want to kind of redo some stuff, and that's more work, more resources involved. Very good point. Thank you for sharing. And talking about the storytelling, how do you kind of balance the narrative side and the creativity side with this historical accuracy and emotional truth that the state is probably looking for?
Great question. Yeah, I remember a lot of the years, many years ago, or even a handful of years ago, you'd get a lot of these storytellers that would reach out and they would just want to do option deals and they would want to be the shepherd and they would want to make the script or make the experience or make the project without the contributions of the estates. And I just don't see that of value as much anymore. It's hard for me to imagine, them shepherding the project without the right stakeholders at the table.
Yeah.
So from my perspective, it's bringing the families into those labs, into those meetings to basically have them be the advice, the bird on the shoulder per se, with where the story is utilized and where it's not. And I think every project's different, again, going back to the historical relevance of each person. And the dynamics are different. Like every single estate that we work with, we're dealing with different family members, different, we call it a whole different ecosystem, different social media channel partnerships, different brand partnerships, different programs that we've done in the past with these individual estates. So everything is different based on each individual estate. But for the most part, the way we do it is we bring those individual people to the table. Like I said, with the Dr. Maya Angelou experience, we worked with the grandchildren, we worked with the estate, we worked with the foundations. We brought anybody who knows that story to the table to collaborate with us. And we basically just show them the innovation, the technology as paint and tools, and educate them on how to leverage this paint to shine a light on that legacy for next generations. And that's how we go about it.
Love it. So it's kind of brainstorming collaboratively and co-create something beautiful together. Amazing. Thank you for that. And in terms of using AI or generative AI specifically, are you using it for scripting or performance beyond just the visuals or voice?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think we use AI for everything. I mean, I'm not one to be shy of stating that. I think it's inspiration and motivation to kind of help nudge things moving forward. I think sometimes it gets us over the creative block. We use lots of different types of AI for a lot of things, obviously, but I think from scripting and storytelling, no, I haven't really found an AI solution that can actually rewrite a script. But obviously it can help get you over maybe an inspirational or a creative block. It might be able to help, like I said, nudge you in the right direction. It can maybe guide you and be a wonderful personal assistant for you to, come up with different story metrics. But it's not going to write the script, at least for right now. I haven't found anything that can rewrite a script like a human. I love it in regards to summarizing scripts. We get a lot of scripts and I don't have time to sit back and read every script. So it's a wonderful tool to basically, run it through AI to give you a lot of the bullet points and to provide us feedback. I think I use AI for many different things, but not really to replace the storytelling or script writing, more for the research or the previs or the early stage kind of collaboration type of metrics.
Love it. Thank you for sharing. Let's get into some of your education work. You've done so many great work, and I'm curious, what are your thoughts about, using these AI tools, XR-based lessons that you've had to kind of prepare this next generation?
Yeah, what's great is it's a hot topic and it moves the needle. And a lot of kids love this technology and love AI and love XR and love all the new innovation that we have at our fingertips today. And so I think it opens up opportunities. I'm one in our classrooms to focus on real world, real time events, real platforms, doing real things, trying to achieve real challenges. I'm very big on focusing on mission critical objectives that exist today. I think, I'm not one to focus on case studies that are, a couple years old, because I think the innovation is rapidly changing, very hyperactive. And so my focus is on more, like I said, bringing students into real world, real life programs, put them in the trenches, have them play with the tools in real time to create mission critical content. That's been the thing that I've noticed students love more than anything else, is they want to play ball. They want to participate. They want to be engaged. They don't want to just sit back and watch. Same way they don't want to sit back and watch their content. They want to participate and engage. It's more experiential. So I see a lot of education or AI in classrooms evolving outside of classrooms into real physical space and bringing classrooms everywhere around us. I think that's the future of where it's going. But at least from our programs, Dreams, at both institutions, it's really focused on bringing students into mission critical opportunities that are really in the location-based entertainment arena. So things like Sphere in Vegas or Cosm in Texas and Los Angeles were places you can go to participate in really incredible immersive experiences. That's kind of our primary focus right now with Dreams is, bringing people to physical venues to experience things above and beyond the way they've experienced things in the past. Digital layers overlapping physical space. So those are the things that we're bullish on right now within our educational initiatives.
Amazing. And I would imagine this younger generation who are playing games and, just more on social media, they're more about, this co-creation and interactive, as you said, type of education rather than what we've been used to, just being taught stuff, being told the stuff. So that's exciting. And is there any project or, kind of class work that you want to talk about as a success story of, using these technologies for the education?
Yeah, I'll go back, to talk about that Dr. Maya Angelou experience. We did work, within the institution to allow students to basically participate in the collaboration on that project. Again, we brought them into working with the estate holders, the family. We got them to think about how can you spatial storytell, how we can utilize campus for, different locations for which you can trigger these experiences. So yeah, it was a beautiful project for, helping the family and the estate utilize these tools and these solutions. And that was a great kind of hybrid project. That was a commercial project with the estate, but also we tied a lot of students into working with us to achieve those objectives. That was a wonderful project. To see students kind of engage with Dr. Maya Angelou's legacy, to learn from her through her words, through her wisdom, to not just passively watch it on a flat screen, but to be able to open it up in the world around us and walk through it and be fully immersed, to have higher levels of retention, higher levels of empathy, to not be distracted with everything else that occurs around us as we're facing a flat screen or sitting in, a classroom. The ability to go into a digital environment and be completely immersed was a beautiful thing to see, and something that I recognize the students love.
That's amazing. Thank you for sharing. Yes, this seems to be the best opportunity and exposure for the students to actually work on something that has real world impact and is recent and everything. So you're doing amazing. Thank you. And imagining for the type of education that you have for Florida State University, is that remote? Are you teaching in a metaverse? How are you going about your education?
Yeah, great point. It's all over the map, right? I'll fly to Miami. I'll fly to Los Angeles for things. It's not Florida State University. It's Florida International University.
Sorry, thank you.
Which is one of the bigger schools like FSU, but it is one of the bigger schools in the state of Florida. It's one of the most diverse institutions in the world. We're based in Miami. We have a lot of incredible venues, a lot of incredible partnerships. I work directly with Dean Schreiner, who runs the CARTA program, the College of Architecture, Communication, and the Arts. And he's just an incredible person. At Cal Arts, I work directly with the president, Ravi, and we go into classrooms and we teach. We also teach in the metaverse, of course. We've done a number of different programs with great teams and great companies to bring people into those environments, just to be able to see what it's like to experience educational initiatives inside those realms. We try to do as many as we can, as many different platforms as we can. Again, we try to bring students into the fold in physical space and digital space.
Thank you. Thank you for correcting me. And so talking about VueXR and the metaverse experience that you guys are creating, which is no code, maybe share a little bit for us more in terms of like how you focused on accessibility and what makes VueXR kind of unique.
Yeah, I mean, I think of it as kind of like YouTube for 2D, except it's for 3D. And we believe there's a big ecosystem of 3D content creators that are using tools like Unreal or Unity. In this case, we built ours on Unity. It's really a tool for those that build 3D assets on Unity. But we believe there's a market, just as there was for YouTube back in the day when there were, traditional 2D content creators that were making traditional passive 2D content and needed a platform for it to be distributed. We believe there's a big ecosystem of creators that are building 3D assets, and they want to be able to distribute 3D assets in physical space. They want to geotag it. They want to engage with it. They want to be able to share experiences the same way we share text or pictures or videos. They want to be able to populate a digital human or a digital car or a digital building or a digital animal or whatever it may be in physical space and storytell around that. There might be a music video that's a spatial music video where it's rain, cats, and dogs based on the theme of the music or the story within the music. So we believe there's a huge ecosystem of 3D content creators that need to think about what happens next once they've created it. We've created so much 3D content over a lot of years that we've gotten beyond the point of, okay, now that we've created it, how do we monetize it? What do you do with it? How do you engage audiences? How do you distribute 3D content? How do you give these tools to the market of creators to be able to publish something and, add GPS, proximity to it, or, add all the different fundamentals that you want, all the different features, and get people to record it and share it on different social channels, all the bells and whistles that comes with what happens next once you create the 3D content. And that's a big focus for us at VueXR. And it's a wonderful tool. I hope that anybody who's listening can use it. We don't charge anything for it. We do a lot of things in WebAR where you don't have to have an application. But in this case, if you want all the bells and whistles and you want people to be able to play with the content and do the things that are above and beyond the WebAR interfaces, then we think it's a great tool for you.
Love it. Thank you for sharing that. I can't wait to go try it myself. This is very exciting to have like a YouTube for 3D. And so how have you seen any creators that are already using it have used it in a way that you were not expecting, maybe positive or negative?
Yeah. I had an actor actually take his artwork and overlay it onto a car and form a partnership with a major car company, and his traditional 2D oil paint was used for him to negotiate a commercial program with a automotive company. So they used it for something pretty unique there. I love the use of like traditional 2D content inside of like 3D worlds. So I love to see developers that create, like digital portals into a museum environment, but then they also take the traditional 2D content that they would put on Instagram or Facebook or YouTube, but then they publish it inside the 3D channel. So you can walk into a virtual space and you have a 3D car, but then you have a 2D screen that's kind of like hovering over the 3D asset that gives you more informative information. And it's just another really cool use case for this passive content that that's already being created, it's already being distributed on these other traditional 2D channels, but here's a place for it to be distributed in 3D, but with some other 3D capabilities or components that bring more, like I said, higher levels of retention, higher levels of empathy, more engagement.
Love it. That's amazing. Very cool stuff. Awesome. So before we get into kind of the future stuff and your predictions, we have another question about the ethical side. Are you suggesting any format for society to approach ethical issues around, digital identity? Or are you personally taking any steps or collaborating with the group on that?
Yes, am working with a number of different kind of law firms and teams to kind of think of what are the policies to put in place. Different states have different perspectives, obviously. I feel like currently a lot of the stakeholders that are handling it from a government perspective are the leaders of some of these AI companies. Mm-hmm. I think they need to be more transparent about what are their policies and governance, as I mentioned earlier in the conversation, internally. I think corporate culture is an important thing right now because I think it's very hard to regulate from the outside. These are multi-billion-dollar corporations that are doing nothing but trying to innovate and spending substantial amounts of capital making these things happen, whether you like it or not. Yes. There's no control. It's controlled by the platforms themselves. And I'd like to see more regulation by internal corporations, both public and private. I'd like audiences and users of those innovations and technologies to make it a mandate for them to be transparent in regards to what are their ethical policies, how are they using their technology to for whatever we're trying to use it for, essentially. So I do believe it needs to happen from the inside, not the outside.
It's interesting. Yesterday I was reading the news that Meta is kind of getting rid of their safety team and bringing more AI to control safety of AI. That's very funny. I don't know how you're thinking about that, but yeah.
I think it's a combination. I think you need to have both stakeholders, both humans and AI at the table to do that. I think it still requires human touch, and I think it still requires human control.
Yeah, for scaling the work of moderation, for example, yes, makes sense to have AI. But for setting the rules and guidelines and all of that, I don't know how much we want to trust AI to protect us from AI. But yeah, so that's a great point. And Felipe is asking, can AI ever truly replicate the emotional depth of a human performance, or is it always simulation?
I think that's the objective, right? I mean, that's what we're all trying to achieve, that leverage AI to create content. We want to have the same type of innovation and performance as a real human. Do I believe that it does it right now? No. Do I believe that over time it will? Yes. I think audiences will adapt, and I think we'll be fed more and more AI content that will bring out our emotion. And little by little, we'll look past the novelty phase that we're in of this Garner hype cycle of AI. I do believe that little by little, mass market will understand that these are colors of paint, and that they're here for us to utilize them to create the IP that we want to create. And if we are able to bring it to the point of emotional depth, wonderful. That's the objective, I think, for some programs, not all programs. But do I think it'll truly replicate human performance? As somebody who's in the trenches right now, I don't think so. I'm not there yet. I'm trying, I'm striving. That's one of my aspirations, but it's just not there yet. So, maybe one day somebody that we're all connected to can bring out emotional depth in AI storytelling at a level that we can't recognize.
Love it. Thank you. And yeah, people are already using these tools, virtual humans, for dating and other purposes. So they're seeing some emotion that is serving their purpose.
Absolutely. So. It's true. It's serving a purpose to everybody. It depends on how they look at it.
Yeah, and one of the top most used cases of AI is this emotional side and the therapy and dating and all of that. So
absolutely, and that's honestly, I think, my biggest use. And unfortunately, I have my father who's been going through cancer and chemo treatment, and I get plenty of test results from him, and it's very challenging and emotional for all of us. And AI is a wonderful tool to be able to provide you real-time information on the spot that can help us get through some of the mental hurdles that we have, to give us more information at our fingertips, to make us feel a different level of comfort. I think there's a lot of great uses there that provide emotional depth, that provide mass value, that go above and beyond storytelling, that go above and beyond the conversation around ethics. there's a lot of great use cases across a wide spectrum.
Yes, such a good point. Sometimes whether we have like a conflict or a difficult emotional state that we're going through, like this could be really helpful. But of course, taking it with a grain of salt, not just acting on whatever we get. But yeah, it could be complementary. Awesome. So let's talk about kind of like what are your predictions for this space? We talked about some of this stuff. Hopefully, we will get to the emotional depth and more reality of these tools and outcomes. But what do you think you are kind of excited about, and what would be very impactful for you and your work?
Yeah, I'm excited. For the stories that are going to come. Taking things beyond the screen. I'm excited for the next evolution in how we engage in content. I'm excited by the billions of dollars that are being, put into the spatial computing sector. I'm not a big fan of screens. I'm not a big fan of using one of our hands to hold a device or for us to live life with our heads down in a heads down society right now. I like our heads to be up and our hands to be free. I love this evolution of spatial computing to, again, bring, really incredible digital experiences overlaid on physical space. I believe that's going to bring us beyond the screen to where we have 3D content displayed around us. We can be walking down the street. We can see a Nike swoosh. We could be wearing glasses. We could have, gaze tracking. We can blink on the swoosh. You can open up Michael Jordan dribbling a basketball, selling his new Air Jordans, and having a really cool experience that would be with me and Jordan in this one moment. That's going to push me to walk in the store and buy the product. I'm excited for that future, the future of real-time spatial computing with AI overlays and 3D digital twins that are basically providing us things based on our personalized devices, based on our personal preferences, based on the channels and platforms that we utilize, based on the historical figures that we want to identify with, based on the impact that we want to have. I'm excited for that. I'm excited to get there at some point. I believe that's going to change the way we do deals with brands. It's not going to be, again, so focused on passive and linear. I see a kind of a unique moment in time. We talk about this at CMG. I talk about this with Mark Rosler, who's the CEO there, because he's been tracking this for 45 plus years. Wow. And this is this one moment in time where you're seeing, like, over the course of time, when somebody passes away every single year, the value of those intellectual property rights kind of go down. On average, sometimes 10% a year, because they don't have their personal, ability to be anywhere or perform in whatever they're trying to do or what they did when they were living. And all of a sudden now you're giving these tools that, again, you can recreate different performances. You could open up licensing opportunities with brands that want to storytell in different mediums. And so we're seeing this moment in time where there's so much excitement from AI companies, from platforms to shine lights on these on these stories, but not do it in the old school book or doc or movie format or lunchbox or Happy Meal format, but do it in this next gen, future forward, immersive, spatial world. And I'm excited for when that actually shifts. And we're not so focused on paying influencers for clicks, views, and likes and running things on passive social channels, but we're focusing on scans and how often somebody was engaged and the length of the engagement and the interactivity that they have and the touch points that they have. Those real next gen analytics are the things I'm excited by to get to that next phase of engagement.
Love all the examples you mentioned. I can't wait to have those, and no device required type of interaction, so seamlessly integrated with our daily lives. And I love that you mentioned how the value of those IPs are going back up thanks to these technologies. So
Absolutely.
This is very exciting. And soon maybe a lot of us can monetize our digital twins. In so many ways, maybe we're not even thinking about it right now. And folks like you that are guiding people through this are gonna, be leaders of this space as you are right now. Thank you so much, Travis. This was awesome. Is there anything else you would like to talk about what's coming up with any of your ventures or yourself? How can people support you?
No, I appreciate it. I think that was a great way to end it. Just go out there and play with these tools, play in the trenches. Again, you mentioned a great comment there at the end, but look at social media. People have figured out ways of monetizing their social media profiles. The same thing will happen with their digital avatars and their personal, personas. They'll figure out ways of monetizing them throughout all the different platforms that are going to exist in the future and exist today. And nothing on my side, just super excited to connect with anybody. You can reach me on LinkedIn. You can find me on Twitter or X, and shoot me a note. And I'm always here to support your journey and jump on a call if needed. Thank you very much, Nico, for having me. Great time on the show here.
Thank you. Yes, and I would just add, hopefully when we get to that digital twin, full adoption, we will do it in a decentralized way where we all own our own identities. Hopefully it wouldn't be just a few companies on the top owning everything about us. But looking forward to that. Thank you so much,
Thank
Travis.
You so much. You
Very
too.
insightful. Thanks everyone who tuned in live or watching us the recording. We won't have an episode next week as I will be at AWE, but we'll be back in 2 weeks with another great guest. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a lovely rest of your day.
Thank you, everybody.